Welcome to the Daily Vibecasting. Today, the AI industry finally proves it can print money. Autonomous agents are taking over complete development cycles. But an unexpected user rebellion is trending worldwide because the bots are getting a little too corporate.
Oh, yeah.
I am thrilled you are joining us as we jump into this deep dive today, unpack the massive shifts happening right now. We have, like, a literal mountain of breaking developments to get through, from billion-dollar balance sheets to humanoid robots standing in your kitchen.
Right. And, while the headlines are practically screaming about hyper-efficiency and massive new technical capabilities, the real story, the one that's hidden in the market mechanics and the furious replies from everyday users, is about who is actually getting squeezed out in this new agentic era.
Yeah.
We are watching the consolidation of a highly expensive, completely sterile monopoly. I mean, the infrastructure is solidifying, but the cultural cracks in the foundation are already showing in a big way.
Well, let's start by unpacking the money, right? Because the narrative we've been fed for the last few years is that artificial intelligence is basically a giant furnace.
A bonfire.
Exactly, just massive data centers burning billions of dollars in compute with no real profit in sight. But a recent breakdown from that viral thread by @Jucana5 recapping Dylan Patel's latest financial podcast completely flips that script.
It does.
According to supply chain analysts, Anthropic reached free cash flow positive status in the second quarter of this year. We're talking about $50 billion plus in annual recurring revenue, with gross margins sitting above 70%.
Which is, that's an absolute watershed moment for the industry, but we really need to look at the underlying mechanics before we throw a parade.
Okay, play the cynic. Why?
Well, being free cash flow positive is the holy grail for a hyper-growth tech company, right? Because it means after you pay for all that incredibly expensive infrastructure, the chips, the power, the massive cooling systems, you actually have cold, hard cash left over.
Right.
But is this actually sustainable? If you look at the current hardware reality, from that exact same @Jucana5 post, memory prices have quadrupled in recent months.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, you're seeing these AI companies boast about 85% margins in what is ultimately a commodity hardware market. The upcycle is incredibly steep right now, sure, but hardware cycles always correct. Always. That is a massive bubble waiting to pop.
I hear you on the bubble risk. But it's not just Anthropic figuring out how to monetize this space.
Yeah.
Look at what Alex Prompter just pointed out. Mark Zuckerberg just posted on X for the first time in 3 years.
Yeah, that was wild.
He broke a 3-year silence, specifically to announce that Meta is officially rolling out MuSpark 1.1, their new agentic coding model. And the real picker here, they're putting a price tag on it.
Yep.
They're charging $1.25 for input and $4.25 for output per million tokens.
It is a brilliant, albeit deeply cynical, bait and switch.
You think it's a bait and switch?
Oh, completely. For the past couple of years, Meta was playing the ultimate champion of the open source movement. Yeah. They were giving Llama away for free, and everyone in the industry praised them as the democratic counterbalance to closed models like OpenAI.
Right, they were the good guys.
Exactly. But open source was clearly just a catch-up tactic. They needed to win developer mindshare while they were trailing behind technologically. And now that they have competitive parity with MuSpark 1.1, well, the free rides are over and the toll booths are officially up.
It's like a tech company offering free rides until they run the local taxis out of business, right?
Spot on.
But wait, let me push back on that for a second. Is $4.25 per million tokens actually expensive, though? To a massive enterprise, that sounds like absolute pennies compared to hiring a team of human software engineers.
Right.
Why is the developer community acting like Meta just raised taxes by 50%?
Because of the sheer scale of autonomous agents. 1 million tokens sounds like a lot if a human is just, typing questions into a chatbot. But when you have an autonomous agent running continuous loops, reading thousands of files, rewriting code, checking for errors, rewriting it again, it can burn through 1 million tokens in a matter of minutes.
Wow, minutes?
Minutes! So if you are running a small business or building an app and your entire backend relies on these continuous automated loops, that $4 scales into millions of dollars incredibly fast. And the switching costs for enterprise software are brutally high.
Because it's too baked in.
Exactly. Once you integrate a model's-specific API, its latency profile, and its reasoning quirks into your entire corporate backend, you can't just easily swap it out over the weekend because the price went up. The ecosystem is built. You are trapped. You pay the toll.
Man, so if you and I are going to be paying these tolls either directly or through the software subscriptions we use every day, The capabilities better justify the cost.
They better.
So let's look at what these models are actually doing right now, because the sheer volume of agentic AI deployments this week is just staggering. The tech educator Matthew Berman just released this massive review on X. He's been using GPT 5.6 Sol internally for 2 months, and his automated systems burned through over 25 billion tokens.
Let's contextualize that number for you really quick.
Sure.
25 billion tokens is roughly equivalent to 20 million standard books.
That is insane.
For a single internal use case. It shows that we aren't just using AI to write polite emails anymore, you know? Entire corporate infrastructures are being completely delegated to the machine.
And Berman makes a fascinating comparison about how these machines actually feel to work with. He calls GPT 5.6 a highly reliable veteran athlete. Like, it knows exactly how to find the most efficient path to a solution, but it's clinically blunt.
Right.
It just gets the job done without any conversational fluff. And he contrasts that with Anthropic's Fable 5, which he says is more like a raw rookie, huge potential, maybe a little more creative in its problem solving, but highly prone to making mistakes.
Yeah, that veteran reliability is what enterprises are paying for.
Exactly. And the autonomy of this veteran model is jaw-dropping. The developer Matt Schumer posted a demonstration of GPT 5.6 Sol building a voxel-based Manhattan.
That video is crazy.
Voxel meaning it's building a massive 3D environment block by block, like a hyper-realistic Minecraft. It ran completely autonomously for almost a week from a single text prompt, creating this incredibly precise, interactive city with the Empire State Building and Central Park.
See, the key detail there is the time frame. It ran completely autonomously for almost a week. We have moved entirely past the era of chatbots where you type a question and wait 3 seconds for a paragraph in response.
Right.
We're now in the era of asynchronous computing. You give the digital agent a complex multi-tiered goal on Monday morning, you close your laptop, go live your life, and you check back on Friday to see the finished product.
And when you do watch it work in real time, the speed of execution is almost disturbing.
It's eerie.
We saw demonstrations this week from @Kimanismus showing GPT 5.6 Sol Ultra Fast mode controlling the graphical user interface in Blender.
Yeah.
You know, the professional 3D modeling software.
Yeah.
It was operating at 750 tokens per second. It isn't just writing code in a back-end terminal. It's instantly generating and transforming 3D objects, clicking menus, and building complex mechanical structures right before your eyes.
Like a ghost in the machine.
Exactly. And then you have developers like Levels.io using Claude code on a headless server to build an iOS app and literally live stream the Apple simulator directly to a web browser.
Let's break down why that headless server detail is so critical for the listener, because it's a massive shift in power.
So you do.
So a headless server is basically just a computer running somewhere in a data center without a monitor or a traditional user interface. Now, Apple has historically forced developers into a walled garden, right? You want to build an iPhone app, you need to buy an expensive Mac and use their specific hardware.
Right, they lock you in.
They totally do. But by putting an autonomous AI on a remote, headless Mac Mini, developers are completely bypassing Apple's hardware requirements. The AI is driving the remote computer, doing all the complex compiling, and just streaming the finished functioning app to a basic web browser. It completely flattens the barrier to entry.
Which is exactly why the enterprise sector is scrambling to integrate this.
Yeah.
Notion just launched ShipOS, and they are moving way beyond basic note-taking and, project management boards.
Oh, far beyond.
They are setting up systems where AI agents run the entire product development cycle. The agents take raw customer feedback, route it to the right department, triage the bugs, write the technical specs, and even handle the pull requests actually submitting the code to fix the software.
It's end-to-end.
And Satya Nadella just announced Microsoft is rolling out GPT 5.6 WorkIQ across Copilot and GitHub. It's the ultimate corporate integration.
It is the ultimate corporate integration, but this brings us to the most fascinating second-order effect of the week. These tools are highly capable, they are generating massive revenue, and yet the users are absolutely furious.
Oh, angry.
There is a massive worldwide user revolt happening as we speak. Sam Altman and OpenAI hyped up this huge live stream event for GPT 5.6, rolling out the new full duplex GPT live voice and the ChatGPT work agent. Altman was talking about how this is the core of their new enterprise work product.
Right.
And the result, users completely flooded the replies from @OpenAI and @Sama, hijacked the entire launch, and started trending the hashtag #KeepFlying. 4.0.
I saw that. Keep 4.0 and bring back 4.0. We're trending globally.
Yeah.
But break that down for me, because isn't this just the inevitable maturation of technology?
What do you mean?
Well, we always see consumers get the fun toys first. They play around, generate some funny poems, use it as a glorified search engine. But at the end of the day, enterprise productivity, the stuff that actually generates that $50 billion in recurring revenue we talked about, that always wins the ultimate product roadmap. Why do users care if their work bot doesn't have a bubbly personality?
Because you are fundamentally changing the psychological relationship between the human and the machine. Users don't want the clinically blunt, veteran AI that Matthew Berman described.
Okay.
Over the past couple of years, people developed a genuine rapport with models like GPT-4o. They love the personality, the high emotional intelligence, the continuity of having a digital companion that felt conversational.
Right, it felt like a coworker.
Exactly. And now the companies are stripping all of that away in the name of raw efficiency. They are force-feeding users a sterile corporate productivity drone. People feel like their digital companion just got a lobotomy and an MBA.
A lobotomy and an MBA, that's harsh.
But it's true. From a purely financial perspective, pivoting to enterprise makes total sense. But from a user retention perspective, it is incredibly tone-deaf.
And it's not just OpenAI facing this backlash either. Look at Claude. Claude A launched this highly produced cinematic PR campaign called Hard Questions.
Oh, I saw that.
They had real people, moody lighting, asking deep philosophical questions about AI's impact on jobs and human connection. It was designed to look very thoughtful.
Very prestige.
Yeah, very prestige. And the users completely hijacked that too, filling the comments with complaints about strict corporate guardrails, constant usage resets, and aggressive rate limits.
Yeah.
The disconnect between the glossy corporate messaging and the frustrating, restricted everyday user experience is massive. Even at Google, Josh Woodward, the VP of Gemini, is publicly having to sift through 1,700 basic feature requests just to assure people they're working on simple workspace integrations.
See, when the everyday user, the person relying on this tech to write their emails, brainstorm their projects, or manage their small business, feels like the tool is becoming a restrictive, expensive monopoly, they look for a way out. The developer community never just sits back and accepts a closed ecosystem.
Never. And that desire to escape the corporate toll booths is sparking a massive cultural push for independence right now.
Big time.
Prominent voices in the tech community, like at Jason, are heavily hyping the OpenCrawl Foundation, which is spearheaded by builders like David Morin and Peter. They are calling it the Switzerland of AI.
The Switzerland of AI.
Yeah. It is completely focused on user-owned, local, independent agents. It's essentially what OpenAI was originally supposed to be before it became a massive enterprise product.
But here is the catch with that. To build those independent tools and actually escape the monopoly, developers are realizing they can't just rely on typing high-level prompts into a magical black box anymore.
Right. They need to know how the sausage is made.
Exactly. They need to understand the underlying mathematical mechanics of how intelligence is actually generated. That's why you are seeing deep dive technical research going viral. Analysts like at Business Barista are pointing everyone to foundational articles by @Rayab Dixit, like Vectors are all you need, just to help people climb the AI learning curve.
I read that vector breakdown, and it is brilliant because it finally demystifies the magic for the rest of us.
It really does.
It explains the core mechanism of how an AI actually understands human language. Think of a mathematical vector, like a set of GPS coordinates for a word's meaning.
Correct.
The AI maps the word king and the word man on a massive grid. Then it maps queen and woman. The AI realizes that the geometric distance between man and king is the exact same distance and direction as the space between woman and queen.
Right.
It's not thinking. It's not conscious. It is literally just doing high school geometry across thousands of dimensions to predict the next logical coordinate. When you explain it like that, it takes the mystery out of it entirely.
And taking the mystery out of it is empowering, you know? When you understand the math, you aren't beholden to Meta's $4 API toll. And you see this empowerment bleeding into open source tooling, too.
Yeah.
Developers like at Dabbit3 are using new independent GitHub tools to extract design and motion principles directly from Apple's WWDC developer videos.
And that's so cool.
It is. They're taking the absolute highest standards of human-computer interaction, breaking them down into code, and applying them to their own independent AI-generated interfaces. They're basically building their own ecosystems from scratch.
So this grassroots developer rebellion proves that code can be replicated, open-sourced, and run locally on your own machine.
Right.
But you can't open-source a physical robot.
Nope.
If developers are trying to escape corporate monopolies, the physical world where robots require billions of dollars in hardware research and development might be the ultimate trap. What happens when this intelligence bleeds out of our software and into physical hardware?
Well, this is where the constraints of reality hit hard. Software is infinitely fast, but physics is entirely unforgiving. Look at the updates coming out regarding 1x Tech's NEO humanoid robot from @Sawyer Merritt. The physical engineering required to match these new AI models is mind-bending.
The new hands on the NEO robot are terrifyingly advanced.
They really are.
They are IP68 waterproof, they're certified food safe, and the robot can literally wash its own hands at a sink, just like a human being.
Think about the computational complexity and the physical sensors required to wash hands.
It's to wash hands.
Yeah, it isn't just about moving robotic joints. Washing hands requires real-time force sensing, slip detection, and understanding the physical viscosity of soap and water. The NEO hands have 25 degrees of freedom and a functional skin that is co-designed with the internal sensors and tendons. They engineered it to handle 45 newtons of finger force with sub-millimeter accuracy.
Let's ground that 45 newtons number for a second for you listening, because that is wild. 45 newtons means the robot has the physical strength to crush a thick plastic bottle in its grip.
Right.
But the sub-millimeter accuracy means it has the tactile feedback to know exactly when to stop squeezing so it doesn't shatter a wet, fragile wine glass. That's the holy grail of robotics, right? Restraint.
Precisely. Vision alone isn't enough for physical tasks. An AI can look at a wine glass through a camera, but it needs tactile physical data to achieve human-level dexterity. Software is hitting the physical limit.
It really is.
It's one thing to build a voxel Manhattan in a digital simulation where you control all the variables and gravity doesn't matter. It's a completely different engineering nightmare to have a robot apply exactly the right amount of pressure to pick up a slippery plate in a physical kitchen.
Yeah.
To really grasp the scale of the physical engineering bottleneck, look at the aerospace sector. SpaceX just moved their massive 70-meter Super Heavy booster to the Starbase pad for Flight 13.
I saw the footage of that. It's a towering stainless steel skyscraper literally crawling past buildings and wetlands.
Exactly. It takes incredible logistics, heavy machinery, and immense amounts of time just to move atoms from point A to point B. You can iterate a software model 10,000 times a day on a server. You cannot prompt engineer a 70-meter rocket, and you cannot prompt engineer robotic tendons.
That's a great point.
If we want artificial intelligence to actually interact with our daily physical lives, the physical world itself is the ultimate bottleneck.
Man, we have covered an immense amount of ground today on this deep dive, and the stakes for how this technology integrates into your life have just never been higher.
Never.
We started with Anthropic, proving that the AI industry can genuinely print billions of dollars in free cash flow, and Meta aggressively putting up the toll booths for developers. We explored how this massive financial investment is resulting in agents that can autonomously code for a week straight, bypassing traditional hardware limits.
Yeah.
But that hyper-efficiency is leading to a massive cultural clash, where you, the users, are rebelling against sterile corporate AI drones in favor of the emotional connection and freedom you used to have.
Right.
And finally, we tracked how all of this digital intelligence is slamming into the incredibly complex realities of physical hardware, from waterproof humanoid hands balancing 45 newtons of force to towering space boosters.
It is a profound structural shift. And based on that massive user backlash and Meta's aggressive pricing pivot, here is my prediction for tomorrow.
Let's hear it.
Expect a hard fork in the market within the next quarter. We are going to see a definitive split. On one side, you will have productivity, AI, blunt, expensive, highly autonomous, and exclusively enterprise-focused. On the other side, you will have companion AI, high emotional intelligence, consumer-focused, and likely open source or locally run.
Okay.
The companies that try to force one single model to do both will entirely alienate and lose their user base. You cannot be a ruthless corporate router and a friendly brainstorm partner at the same time.
The market absolutely has to bifurcate. And that actually brings me to a final thought for you to take with you today. We talked a lot about these new models being a clinically blunt and hyper-efficient veteran in the digital space. But ask yourself what happens when we put that exact same clinically blunt, relentlessly efficient intelligence into the mind of a humanoid robot with waterproof hands and 45 newtons of finger force walking around our physical world.
That's the question.
Does blunt efficiency still feel like a productivity hack when it's standing in your kitchen? Thank you for joining us in the Daily Vibecasting.
Until next time, keep questioning the consensus.